I am so excited to be here with Amber, who is a wedding venue owner and one of our amazing SEO Fix clients. Amber, I'm so excited to introduce you to anyone watching or listening. Can you tell us more about your business?
Hey, Sarah. Yes, thank you so much for having me. So my name's Amber and I'm located in Texas. I have a venue called Sunset Oaks Venue, and we're in a pretty crowded market outside of the DFW area. And we actually bought our venue about 6 years ago. It was a previously operating venue, and we just kind of had to start from scratch. And now we consistently host about 95 to 100 weddings per year and have done it all without really have never paid for Google Ads, and have a very small advertising budget.
Oh, that's amazing. So tell me a little bit more about your ideal client. Who are you trying to reach? Who gets married in your area? Tell us a little bit more about who you were trying to reach with SEO.
I think when we first started, like a lot of venue owners, we think that we want every single client, everyone who wants to get married, come to us. And after you've been operating for a while, you definitely learn that you have certain people that you really cater to well. And we really built our business around what we love to work with, who were people, couples who were looking for something a little bit more turnkey. And we really speak to those who feel a little too busy to plan a wedding, those who are looking for more done for you options, but are still pretty, I guess I would say kind of laid back and simplistic enough that we're not targeting a super high end luxury couple. We're focused on more of the mass market in the middle.
And are most of your clients local to you, or are they traveling to you from other places?
Ooh, that's a juicy question. It's about 60-40. So 60, I would say, are within the hour range, but we have a solid 40% who are from anywhere else, from Florida to Virginia. We do get destination as well somehow.
That's awesome. You and I started working together in 2023. That was when you initially reached out and booked our SEO Fix service. But I would love a little bit of background if you would give it to us. If you could tell us a little bit more about you in 2023, where were you in your business when you decided to invest in the SEO Fix, and what was going on that made you seek out SEO help?
So in 2023, I had just left my full-time engineering career. After over a decade in engineering, we had a consistent business. We had actually already scaled to, I think that was probably our first 100 wedding year was 2023. But what happens is once you get to that point where you are too busy, you can easily say, wow, it's been weeks since I posted on social, or, your to-do list just starts to exceed what you actually have time to do. And although I had already done the boot camp and felt like I had a little bit of footing, I had a little bit of understanding, I knew that I was really not equipped with the time to maintain that long term. And I thought, man, there's some opportunity here. So for me, it just made sense that if we wanted to continue to stay at the top of market when it felt like new venues were popping up constantly, that there was more competition mounting, but we needed to really stay ahead. I just went ahead and said, okay, we're doing the SEO Fix, and I would rather just have it done for me. That way it's off of my plate. I know it's getting done, and then I feel equipped to maintain it from there.
Yeah. One thing that I loved about our initial communication was that you kind of said, hey, we're actually doing really well already. We're already pretty booked up, but I know that our market is competitive and I have to do things no one else is doing to stay ahead. I really liked that perspective. I'm curious if that's just always been your mindset. Like, I won't settle. I need to continue to learn, improve, analyze. Is that you?
I think it really is. I'm just by nature a little bit more of like the idea inventor type person, which can easily overload your plate with too many things that you want to do. And I hate to admit it, Sarah, one of the reasons I adore you is that you love this stuff and I don't. Like, I love the idea of it, but it's not what gets me insanely excited to actually execute on it. I like to brainstorm it, have a good understanding, but I just know myself and I knew that it wasn't something I personally would just sit down and dive into it and give it the attention level that it needed. But absolutely, when you are in a market with 100 plus venues and less than an hour away, and it's not a metro market, right? We're not in DFW proper, we're 2 hours away. So we're not dependent on traffic from DFW, which means we have a smaller market with a lot of venues. So how do we stay 3 steps ahead of our competitors? That's the lens through which I pretty much do everything. Is we're not going to react, we're going to lead. And that was the thought in 2023 as well.
So smart. I love it. Okay. So here you were like, okay, let's do things no one else is doing, but I'm sure that you still had some concerns. So what was your biggest concern about SEO before working with us?
Right. A couple things. Number one is that I had always heard that you have to pay hundreds of dollars a month to keep someone maintaining your SEO. And that always just seemed very unattainable. But it also let me know, well, that was maybe kind of like the price anchor. I thought, man, if this is going to cost thousands of dollars a year, I could probably just run more ads and get just as good or better results. But then when I saw the cost and when I saw how intimately you were tailoring the strategies specific to A, the wedding industry, and B, wedding venues, I felt like you guys weren't doing anything generic. Everything that you preached, like I was definitely drinking the Kool-Aid, but I just wanted to take the shortcut and go to the fix. So I was concerned that I wouldn't be able to afford it. I mean, despite what people think, wedding venue owners are not rolling in the dough. We have a lot of expenses, and I couldn't afford another $500 to $1,000 a month for SEO, just hoping we would be found organically. But I believed in what you were doing and that it was going to be very specific to our industry. And when I saw the cost, I was like, done. That was a no-brainer.
Oh, I'm so glad. And, I'm really glad you brought that up because that is something we've done to try to position the SEO Fix differently. It is a one-time project. It's a one-time fee, not like an ongoing forever and who knows what this person is doing kind of service. So, I appreciate hearing that from your perspective because we do have a proven strategy that we can implement over just 7 days. And my coworker, Sarah, was the person to be your SEO associate, walk through that first process with you, the initial SEO Fix setup. And we went through the normal setup. We optimized 5 pages on the website and gave you some guidance on next steps. So I'm curious if you could tell us a little bit more about how your concerns that you had were alleviated through the SEO Fix process.
The first one that was alleviated had to be knowing that this was, again, specific to my business, our business model, the clients we were trying to attract. We weren't just throwing generic SEO things that I could have found on YouTube. This was very specific and dialed in. And I remember there being like a questionnaire, and you guys asked questions I didn't really even expect to be asked. I feel like because you actually asked more in depth about the business and what our goals were, not just assuming. So that was really helpful, especially in the beginning. And then to see the results, you showed me what you did, but also what are the ongoing things to be aware of, right? So what are the things we still have opportunities for, so that I had a little bit of guidance, because as a small business owner in general, we're just trying to figure it out. We're out here trying the quick hacks and saving things on Instagram and watching YouTube videos, but we don't really have a lot of direct guidance from experts. So I just immediately felt more confident that we were doing something right. And then when I started seeing watching the traffic more closely and making it a point to look at it, I could see, oh, okay, this is genuinely working, you know?
Yes. Well, I'd love to talk more about that initial watching the results from the first project. And I want to ask more directly what results that you have seen through the SEO Fix and the work that was done.
So, as we said, my business was already doing pretty well and I wanted to keep it that way. And I started tracking data very early on. I think as an engineer, it was just one of those things I knew, like I always want to know the numbers, like really easily and know what's working so I can put more towards that, right? And if you have the one-time SEO fix, it just keeps working for you without you having to do anything. I call that like my evergreen portion of the strategy. Like it just keeps working. You don't have to keep posting to maintain SEO necessarily. So I was tracking that and I just saw consistently that over 50% of my inquiries and tours booked were coming from Google consistently. And that is just, it's a no-brainer for me to continue to maintain that. So as we've tracked, that has pretty much remained consistent, that about half of our tours are saying that they found us on Google. Now, there's a whole conversation there on what the thing was that actually made them book the tour, but the fact is, knowing that that credibility was going to be there, whether they found us somewhere else, they were still going to Google us.
Yes, you got found, you got discovered, and they took that next step. So I'm really glad to hear that. Now, we did a little bit of additional work for you a couple years later. So we always love when past clients come back to us and we get to continue to add to the strategy, adjust the strategy. So we loved when you reached back out in 2025 looking for some additional help, some additional opportunities to get found. Can you tell us a little bit more about why that came about and that add-on project?
Now, I have continued to be a subscriber and watch the Lunch and Learns because all of this with AI searching and ads changing, I understand that nothing is permanent. The only thing that is guaranteed to remain is that everything will always be changing. And so after keeping up, I knew there was, of course, more opportunity, right? Again, new venues are popping up in my market continuously. That's never slowed down. And admittedly, I knew that I will go plop in another picture or update something here. And I wasn't doing anything necessarily to make sure I wasn't messing up my SEO. And we added new pages to the website. We offered new services from all-inclusive to micro weddings and all those things. And I was seeing a trickle in of search traffic because I do monitor relatively monthly to see what's going on. I just look at my analytics periodically and see what are we popping up for. And I thought, we keep ranking somewhere for this. We keep ranking somewhere for that. Let's double down. Why not? That's more business. It's another angle. It's matching the market trends. So let's make sure they find us. And I reached out to do basically a refresh and thought, look, I'm sure I've messed up some alt text and some file names, things like that. Can you just do a checkup, please?
A lot of people don't know that we do actually do additional projects for past clients. So while the SEO Fix is a one-time 7-day setup service, we love the opportunity to get back into an SEO refresh for past clients, look at how your SEO is performing, and identify those new opportunities. So I'm really glad that we got to make some good strategic SEO shifts to help you get found for some more things that you were already doing, but maybe hadn't optimized for as well as possible. So I know we found something that you were previously presenting just as a PDF or download brochure, brought some of that information into the website in an SEO optimized page instead. And that's just one example of the things that we can do to add to the strategy. So I'm so glad that you reached back out and did that. Is there anything that you wanted to add about what you've seen since the refresh project, or has it been just more of the same?
I would just say, looking at traffic year to year, and I didn't break this out too specifically. I just looked at overall traffic because I think it all works together. Like we said, you just because you're getting more traffic from social doesn't mean it's not adding to the to the organic searches. I think it all works together. But yeah, I like to look at the numbers and say, okay, from before I did the first SEO fix, I think I had like 4,000 visits per month. After the first SEO fix, it looks like it went up to 6,500. So that's like a 50% increase. And then I did a benchmark every year, the traffic in January. I just wanted to look at the January, right? Because when you vary month by month, seasonality, things like that, I remember looking at the traffic in January of 2025 versus 2024 and thinking, okay, the literal traffic number is down. And then that motivated me to do the refresh. And I would say it almost doubled my traffic from January 2025 to 2026, almost doubled like the monthly basis. So, you know, you would have to have your own algorithm to try and back calculate all of it, but I'm just looking at flat numbers and that's pretty clear to me. So, but that's what it takes in a competitive industry, a competitive market. Like, you have to stay ahead, and my traffic for 2025 January was great, but it was twice as good in January 2026.
Yes. I'm so glad that you are using the year over year comparison, because that is really the best measure of how have your marketing efforts added to your opportunities, not comparing January to December. Because if you do that, almost every venue's traffic and interest goes up in January every year. So every January, you can think you're a genius if you're only comparing to December. Really understanding how your business is doing does depend on comparing how'd you do last year to this year in the same period. And we bring up January in case anyone doesn't follow their numbers as closely. We really consistently see for venues that is the biggest search month because we're coming off engagement season. All those engagements have happened over the holidays and people start looking for their venues right away. So almost all of our graphs that we track go like this in December and then go whoop up in January. And kind of taper off through the next couple months. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. And it kind of brings me to something that I really wanted to ask you, because one thing I notice about you, Amber, is that you are particularly good at tracking your business's metrics in a way that not every wedding business owner does. So I can tell you really like to make decisions based on data. So I wanted to ask if you could share more about what metrics you do track and more about how you do it.
So, you know, as an engineer, numbers don't really scare me, but I do like to keep it as simple as possible because, again, you know, if you're not looking year to year or you're not looking at a large time frame, and if you wanted to compare March search traffic to January, you could assume something was very, very wrong with your SEO or whatever the case is, or with the market. So I think I started off, so it was probably a progression of starting off with, okay, I'm keeping a spreadsheet of all my bookings, right? I have one place with a spreadsheet of all my bookings. And then over time, I continued to add to that and looking at who was the tour guide, who was, or where did they say they found us? Then what is the booking value? And over time, I've continued to add a little bit more and a little bit more. Unfortunately, most CRMs are not great at this. They don't tell you a lot. No shade to any of the CRMs, but most of them are just not great at that. So I just set up a Zap years ago, like actually 5+ years ago, that when someone signs a contract, it sends it to, at the time it was a spreadsheet, now it's an Airtable database, but it's just one little Zap and it pulls over all the information, so I don't even have to copy and paste it. And I can't forget. So, and it gives me a third place so that I can triple check that I'm not booked to avoid double booking as a bonus.
That's so good.
Yeah. So the financials, the sources, at the very least, those can give me a good pulse on what's going on, and then I can compare it to previous years, previous months, and say, okay, how many have I booked so far this year? Well, how many had I booked at this point last year? So being able to have that transparency and see, okay, all the Facebook groups are panicking, the market, the economy, all this stuff. Okay, cool. Well, this is year 6 and I am doing better this year than, last year already.
For sure. The data to help give you the actual grounded reality around the business instead of just day-to-day vibes based on how much Facebook groups are freaking out. I definitely see that a lot also. So I think it's really amazing that you've started to bring this knowledge, this expertise to other venues. So I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about the coaching that you've been doing within the industry and share more about that.
Yeah, thank you. So about probably a year and a half ago-ish, I, after just my entire venue career, have just been the person that everyone calls. Like, hey, what is going on? What am I doing wrong? I'm having this client problem, all these things, as a resource. And also just someone who always had that big sister energy of, let's do this. I want to help you out. Let's learn together type thing. So I launched my coaching business, Vow to Grow. And this year we had our first cohort of my group coaching program called the Elite Venue Code, where we just navigate the entire wedding venue business. And from the strategy side, the basics of how we're running our business, the marketing strategy of how to balance it out, to a multifaceted approach where we're not only dependent on listing directories or ads, but how we can all work together to work for us along the way. And then just helping venue owners find their confidence in doing things that sound really simple, like enforcing policies or building packages or finding new income streams. It's just that community where we work through it together very intentionally. And one of the things that I hold my students or clients accountable for is rallying every month. All right, did we do our data tracking? All right, how are we doing? Okay. What's the actual performance when you're drowning under emails and questions? What's the actual health of the business? And so that is something I try to instill in my clients, to just every month mark an hour on your calendar the first week of the month, and let's pull some numbers so that you have facts.
I'm so glad. I think this is really needed in the wedding industry, this tracking, even as simple as you can make it, just doing some tracking to have grounded reality around how the business is doing. I see clients come to me, potential clients come to me always at certain times of the year because these are the slower times and they think they've done something wrong. They think that something's broken with their website or their marketing just because it feels slower, and they aren't looking at that year over year data. Oh, this is normal for me for March. We usually only book, 20% of the weddings we do the rest of the year or something like that. If you don't have that year over year tracking, you're just going, how do I feel right now? And you go in one Facebook group, you get yourself all wound up and you're like, the whole business is crashing and something is wrong. So I'm not saying you, of course, Amber, but in general, this is what I see from wedding business owners who end up in my inbox in a panic because they don't have the data tracked over time to help them understand what are your feast seasons and what might be a little bit of a famine season that you can prepare for and just know is going to happen. So I love that this is your approach and that you're sharing this with other people. Now, you mentioned to me that you do have something that might actually help venues with their tracking. I was hoping you could share that as well.
One of the things that intimidates business owners or wedding business owners in general, but specifically venue owners, is just how to track it. It feels like it's a huge commitment to track, but really if it becomes part of your onboarding workflow, that you make sure you log the wedding booking and then just once a month, a couple of quick data pulls can give you a lot more reassurance than, like you said, going into a group where you have no idea of whether the people answering your questions are actually qualified to do so, or if they are finding success in their own business or not. You don't have a way to vet that. So going back to your source of truth, your own numbers, is extremely valuable. And I make a sheet specifically for my coaching clients, but I would be so happy to share. I feel like the people who are working with you are taking it seriously and see the value of tracking. So I will be happy to share my Venue Health tracking sheet that just has an annual log of a lot of the basics, from website traffic to inquiries, how many inquiries converted to tours, how many tours converted to bookings, and then a little bit more from there, so that if you are seeing a slowdown in bookings, A, can you look year on year, but B, can you say, well, why? Did I get a new tour guide and they're not converting as high? Or did I completely swap website platforms because I thought that was going to make my website pretty and now I have no search traffic? Those are little things that I hear people saying all the time that they want to do. And I go, hold on. You need to go find Sarah first.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. Yes, send those people to me before they make big website decisions, and we can make sure we protect their SEO in those transitions. So I'm so happy to do that. Now, to wrap this up in a bow, I'm really curious if you could consider what you would say to another wedding professional who's considering the SEO Fix. If they asked you, hey, Amber, what do you think of this service? How would you respond to them?
I would say that if we look around, the internet is full of people willing to give us or sell us a quick fix or an ad or a software or something like that. But even in an evolving market where there's a new hack and a new fad every week, it seems like, over 6 years, I've consistently seen roughly 50% of my actual bookings, not just inquiries, but bookings, say that they found us on Google, and that Google search, organic search, is alive and well, and there's a strategy behind it. And once you have it in place, you don't have to keep feeding it. So rather than beating yourself up about not posting enough on socials or wondering if you need to pay for an expensive listing directory, the SEO Fix is an investment that just keeps paying for itself over and over again, and it doesn't require really upkeep. It's essentially evergreen, and there are a lot of things you could do to improve it and keep it functioning and keep it growing, but it is just, again, it's evergreen. It's a kind of the gift that just keeps giving. It keeps working even when you don't.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your SEO Fix story, sharing with other venue owners what you found through SEO. Is there anything else we should touch on while we're together today?
Basically, any venue owners, I would love to see you tracking, even if we never have the chance to work together. I have a page on my website at vowtogrow.biz, free resources, and I will add the Venue Health Tracker sheet there. And if you go grab that, you'll also get my weekly email, the Venue Owners Weekly, where I just send industry updates, stories, and empowering techniques to maintain your venue business.
Amazing. A little bit of help with the business, a little bit of community encouragement. That really is what I see from you. So that sounds absolutely wonderful. We will make sure to link this wherever you may be watching or listening. So we'll put Amber's links in the description so that you can connect with her. Do you have a social media handle that you want to direct people to where you're most active?
Yeah, Instagram at vow.to.grow.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amber. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.